Welcome to this Black Talk Radio News segment. My name, of course, is Scotty Reed, broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. A podcast I do recommend people follow, as it's just a very good mix of different points of views on geopolitical issues, and that's Breaking Points. And no, they're not paying me to promote their podcast, but I know how important getting correct information is in having what we might call real-time fact-checking and cordial disagreements, if there are any. And so I do like Breaking Points. So recently, though, they had a segment which claimed, in this segment, they claim that the U.S. mainstream media and establishment politicians only recently began broadcasting graphic images of this ongoing famine in Gaza. Now, factually, that is a correct statement, but it also overlooks, or the segment did not bring up, the fact that you have way earlier warnings and from vital grassroots documentation, but not only from the grassroots, from the United Nations as well. Let's talk about Cindy McCain. She has been leading the alarm from at least 2023. She's been sounding that alarm as executive director of the UN World Food Program since March of 2023. Cindy McCain, who is the widow of Senator John McCain, Republican, consistently warned the world about looming famine in Gaza. So again, that's March 2023. Here we are in July 2025. So that's over 2 years that she first started sounding the alarm about this looming famine. Now, by November 2023, she was predicting widespread starvation, and by May 2024 declared that northern Gaza was in full-blown famine, calling for humanitarian corridors and massive aid scale up. So you might not, especially if you live in a Western country, but specifically here in the United States, then you wouldn't seen those images, because as Breaking Points cast allege, which is factually correct, that a lot of these images wasn't being published in mainstream media and what have you. Now, TikTok, most people, it's a very popular app. A lot of people heard of it. It's a social media app, but it's really a lot of video and visual presentations and what have you. And so most people remember the efforts of Congress, successful efforts of Congress and Donald Trump at the behest of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu to ban TikTok. That's the only reason they wanted to ban it, is because you were getting these unfiltered raw images from inside of Gaza for those fortunate enough to be able to get a connection to the internet and or have cell phone service and were able to get out a signal and upload these photos and things on TikTok. Mothers with their children doing live videos from the refugee camps, which Gaza is an open air prison. So that is when they made a move. When I say they, I'm talking about the establishment led by the United States to get TikTok shut down. Now, it hasn't been shut down as of yet, and Trump kept delaying it, but it's important to point out that this is the reason why. So while platforms like Facebook and Instagram were suppressing these pro-Palestinian content, Israel, AIPAC, the U.S. Congress, and Donald Trump lobbied and got a law passed to ban TikTok explicitly because, as I just said, of these real images coming out of Gaza. But despite this, the platform remains a channel where Palestinians and journalists could upload live footage of the mass starvation, unfiltered and uncensored. With that said, I just read yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to fact check it, but on TikTok, people have been talking about they just hired this former Israeli Defense Forces person to join their board and to police content. So we're going to see if that censorship emerges. As far as I'm concerned, as of yet, there hasn't been any censorship. We still getting these images, all right? So that is one of the things that I think needs to be put out, because to ban these type of images and to censor this speech, you know, without even getting into the so-called free speeches, absolutists now wanting to ban this particular speech. But I think it makes those boards and people who made those decisions to censor this type of content, make them complicit in the genocide. So I think it's important to put that out. Now, politicians, let's talk about politicians, whether they in office or out of office. They didn't begin commenting until the mid this year. Matter of fact, last month, July, as we are in August, Black August, y'all, for those that know, you know. Now, Hillary Clinton, of all people, a woman who is guilty of genocide herself, I would say, and if we don't want to use that term legally, which I'm going to do another segment on another clip I heard, or argument I heard Sagar make on a different episode. I just heard it today, where he doesn't even believe in using the term genocide, but he subscribes to using terms like mass murder, ethnic cleansing, and what have you, which those are all legal definitions as well, Sagar. But I'll get into that the next one. But Hillary Clinton is definitely complicit in not only Israeli war crimes, but war crimes that occurred in Libya, along with Obama. But sticking with Gaza, this is the first time she's ever said anything. And it's a direct result of mainstream media finally letting these images and videos and interviews be platformed on their platforms. So this is what Hillary Clinton tweeted in July of 2025. Aid organizations report that thousands of children in Gaza are at risk of starvation while trucks full of food sit waiting across the border. Now, this appears to be her first public statement on Gaza since 2023, and it specifically called out stalled aid. So nothing about the intentional plan, which we've heard it straight from the mouths of Israeli cabinet officials, the intentional plan of ethnic cleansing by way of starvation. Hillary Clinton, I don't know what difference this will make, but I guess it gave Barack Obama the courage to finally say something. Who I really do not like this man. I think he has a cult following who do not objectively analyze the things that he has done when he sat in that seat of power, and how he uses his popularity or his personal public persona to most of the time not focus on stuff that's too serious. You know, I think he works over there. I believe he has some sort of media production contract with Netflix. And I've seen some clips of him interacting with some NBA players and things of that nature. And so Michelle ain't never said nothing. But anyway, this is what Obama finally said on July 28th, 2025. While a lasting resolution to the crisis in Gaza must involve a return of all hostages and a cessation of Israel's military operations, these articles underscore the immediate need for action to prevent the travesty of innocent people dying of preventable starvation. Aid must be permitted to reach people in Gaza. There is no justification for keeping food and water away from civilian families. Again, Cindy McCain is the widow of John McCain, Barack Obama's opponent in the 2008 election. Hillary Clinton, she knows who Cindy McCain is. And again, Cindy McCain started giving us warnings of famine and starvation back in 2023, over 2 years ago. But yet these people never said anything. Here we are 2 years later, after the initial warnings, and finally they saying something. What is this? Some kind of face-saving thing, or a reaction to the political winds as the people, and when I say people, I'm talking about the average Joe public, average Geo public, have, and then most of the polls have consistently showed that the bulk of U.S. citizens do not support what Israel is doing, and has long called for immediate cessation of violence and hostilities. But of course, you know, Barack Obama wants to use that talking point where he talked about and I don't have the exact quote, but it might have been he made a very long tweet. Let me put it that way, buckets of words, right? So, but he talked about a release of all the hostages. You know, man, Israel don't even care about the hostages, as they have sabotaged and broken attempts by the Trump administration to facilitate such returns, because that is not their goal. They don't have that concern for those people. They will be sacrificed and what have you. They don't care. But do you think that they are not affected by the starvation? And some of these people who have been released have been coming out looking in pretty healthy condition. Definitely haven't been showing any signs that, quote unquote, Hamas has been starving them. But then, let me not get off on a tangent. I mean, we even see people in Israeli custody in detention facilities who come out and look emaciated, like they have been malnourished. So I'm just saying the signs have always been there. And these people simply didn't care because they were complicit or are complicit in not only this great crime against humanity, but others all throughout the world. We can go look at how many democratically elected governments were overthrown by the Obama administration, with Hillary leading the way at the State Department, right? So Cory Booker, who some people said was trying to hide behind another senator in a group photo with indicted war criminal, evil mastermind Benjamin Netanyahu, right? And they all have AIPAC in common. But this is what he said. Witnessing the catastrophic hunger, and he didn't say this till July the 25th. I think he came out before Obama. All right. Witnessing the catastrophic hunger and suffering of civilians in Gaza has been heartbreaking. It is our collective moral duty to ensure that humanitarian relief reaches those who need it most urgently. So, oh my goodness. We've been seeing catastrophic hunger and suffering of civilians for over 2 years now, Mr. Booker, Senator Booker. Again, you have access to the internet. You put out content, and this content has been on TikTok and it's been written about it, even if the mainstream media is just now showing some of these images and asking real questions of those perpetrating or aligning themselves with the perpetrators, which makes them complicit. We've been seeing this a long time. So excuse me for being very cynical of these people who are complicit by way of their votes. Cory Booker's a sitting U.S. senator whose votes on Israeli-related arms sales has always been a yes vote. This was his first documented comments in 6 months. But of course, he didn't call out Israel or Benjamin Netanyahu or any Israeli official. None of these people have called out any of these individuals most responsible. Then you had Amy Klobuchar, Senator Amy Klobuchar. She was in a photo op just like Cory Booker, with an indicted war criminal who has said some disgusting things. And every time he speaks on the genocide, he's, of course, gaslighting us. So on July the 9th, she appeared in a smiling photo op with indicted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. And that included Cory Booker. Days later, she issued her first statement on Gaza starvation, which I'm sure she didn't bring it up with him, calling the humanitarian crisis unacceptable and urging aid in response to NGO warnings, which NGO just simply stands for non-governmental organizations like the one Cindy McCain heads up, the UN World Food Program. Come on, y'all. These people are complicit. Now, here's the bigger picture. The only reason we've even gotten here is because of TikTok citizen content posted and viewed globally. That's why we can say 99% of the world, except for those in the UK, let's just say for the sake of simplicity, white nations, predominantly white Western nations. Then the United States passed a ban to target this content, not wanting regular citizens to even see it. That's complicity. But TikTok citizen content, which was viewed globally, helped fuel broader awareness when corporate platforms muted or removed sensitive imagery. Cindy McCain and global humanitarian agencies were sounding alarms well before these U.S. politicians spoke publicly. U.S. lawmakers, let's get to Kamala Harris, the former DNC nominee for president who lost to Donald Trump. She hadn't said nothing. Only thing I've heard from her is, since she lost, is she's not going to run for to become the governor of California. She don't care nothing about all of these children starving. And of course, she is complicit as Joe Biden's right-hand assistant, we'll call it. But yeah, now, U.S. lawmakers and cable news editors held back these images and messages until public pressure and viral documentation forced wider exposure. They knew they were losing credibility. Not that they ever had it with a person like me, but they knew it was damaging their credibility. Now, politicians whose campaign funding got money from AIPAC aligned electorates remain silent until months into the crisis. No, it's not months, it's years. 2 years to be exact. So there is complicity beyond just mere omission. So it took until mid-2025, July, for some establishment voices finally said anything about what humanitarian agencies and Palestinian journalists have been documenting since 2023. But the visuals and urgencies that pressed the world into broader awareness came through TikTok, not state-aligned newsrooms, like your Fox Newses, your CNNs, your MSNBC, your ABC, your MS, on and on. Now, the delayed public commentary from the Democrats' questionable leadership is not a case of them expressing real-time ethics, and it's just more like reactive optics, born of the undeniability of the virality of a real-time stream genocide that has them trying to hide their complicity. This has been Scotty Reed with a Black Talk Radio News episode. Please support independent media. If you would like to support my content and the content of others, just visit blacktalkradionetwork.com, hit the Make a Donation tab, and give what you can. Peace and blessings to all.